à tous, bienvenue pour une nouvelle vidéo. Donc je vous présente une vidéo, c'est de la bombe. Il y a des oreilles et des yeux qui vont saigner, des oreilles et des yeux qui vont se régaler. Faites-moi confiance, c'est de la pure bombe. Par contre, la vidéo, elle est sous-titrée en anglais. Voilà, pour toutes les personnes qui savent lire l'anglais et parler l'anglais, vous allez vous régaler. Pour les autres, je suis désolé. Je ferai la traduction cette semaine ou courant de la semaine prochaine. Vous aurez la vidéo traduite en sous-titré français. Il n'y a pas de souci. Si vous êtes trop pressé, que vous ne voulez pas attendre, allez la traduire vous-même. Croyez-moi, c'est de la bombe. Vous n'allez pas le regretter du tout. Ça prend que 20 minutes pour traduire, ça va très vite. Voilà. Maintenant, je vais laisser un petit message. Je voulais dire à tous ceux qui insultent, cherchez pas où ils sont passés vos messages. C'est moi que je les efface. C'est ma chaîne. Je décide de ce que je veux sur ma chaîne et je fais ce que je veux. On est d'accord? Donc, toutes les insultes, je les efface. Ça sert à rien de venir d'insulter même un simple abruti. C'est une provocation, je vais l'effacer. Que ce soit pour moi ou pour un autre, je l'effacerai parce que je veux pas de violence, je veux pas de débat violent, je veux pas que ça part en guerre dans les commentaires. Tout ce que je veux, c'est des débats intelligents avec respect. Que les gens savent communiquer, qu'ils soient d'accord ou pas d'accord. Le respect avant tout. Merci à tout le monde de comprendre ça, c'est gentil. Même moi, je suis en désaccord avec des personnes, je suis en désaccord avec d'autres personnes. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui sont en désaccord, qui avant me parlaient mal, je leur répondais mal. Alors d'aujourd'hui, ils me répondent bien, je leur réponds bien. On arrive même à rigoler limite ensemble. Voilà, le respect avant tout. Bon visionnage, merci à tous.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with present airline pilot who flies all over North America and around, has seen this world from above. The reason his face is blurred out is because he is currently a pilot, and this would be a conflict of interest.
Correct. Yeah, we're all of our companies make us sign an agreement where we're not allowed to speak to any media and any questions. Actually, any pilot has presented to them in the United States by any media organization needs to be directed to our company spokesperson and or union representatives. Basically, they don't want any of us talking to any media, anything, not just crash and incidents, but
Flight experience, anything.
Correct.
That's a pretty good wall of defense to keep anything that you might be seeing out there in the air. Does it look flat from the front of the aircraft?
It looks completely flat from the front of the aircraft. You're absolutely right. All the windows from the passenger's perspective are curved, and you could read a lot of textbooks that state reasons why, but it's not the curve that the airplanes need. It's basically the triple pane and shape of the windows. So
I notice it's really cold up higher the higher you go.
Absolutely.
Do flights ever fly directly under the sun? Have you ever flown like under the sun?
I've never thought about that, but no, I've never
come near it.
No, I've never flown directly under the sun. At least not that.
Is it possible that the flight coordinators are aware that if you fly too close to the sun, you're gonna burn up? Or is it hotter near the sun?
It's something that I've actually never thought about, but it's funny that you mention that because I've literally never thought of it. But yeah, the sun has never been directly overhead of the aircraft. One thing that I've thought about though is the average commercial aircraft flies at about 38,000 feet, which up there the temperature is about negative 50, maybe negative 60 degrees. We always use Celsius. At that temperature, it's about the same as Fahrenheit. And one of the examples that they use where you can't fly over Antarctica, temperatures are so extreme, but the temperatures are so extreme at every altitude that we fly at, and we're always flying around thunderstorms and supercells. And once I heard that the argument of these extreme temperatures, you can't get more extreme temperatures literally than what we fly. And ice can't freeze. Ice past negative 30, it can't gather on the aircraft. So once you're flying at that altitude in those extreme temperatures, you're not worried about any ice accumulation, any ice ingestion in the engine. So the argument that you can't fly over Antarctica due to the extreme weather conditions is just a complete lie. Like I said, I've never thought about the sun thing, but I've thought about the zero flights over Antarctica, and that's led me to more questions. But I'll definitely have to look more into the sun.
So another question I want to ask you about the sun is, I've seen video from airplanes where the sun, from their perspective, appears beneath them. Have you ever witnessed that? Or seen those videos?
I'd have to look at the videos, but I've seen multiple times where the sun's beneath me. I've never seen it where it's directly over the ground or something like that. But
yeah.
I guess I'd have to.
I meant like off in the distance.
Oh, off in the distance, plenty of times, yeah, where you're higher than the
apparent sun.
Than the apparent sun. Absolutely. One thing that I have noticed flying that has completely blown my mind is the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and there's been plenty of times where the sun, we've been flying eastbound. Late at night we do a lot of red-eye flying where you leave at 10 o'clock at night and then land at 6 in the morning. But where the sun is set, and you would actually, where it's just set on the other, set in the west, and then you see a little glimpse hours later on the east where I'd ask the other pilot, I'd say, is that the sun rising? Is that a moonrise? And then it would dip back below. But I've seen where my mind was just blown because it didn't make any sense whatsoever. And then we take our little Apple or Android star map out to find where the moon was, and it wasn't there. But basically, it looked like the sun was about to rise in front of us in the east when it had just set behind us in the west hours prior. And then, of course, 6 hours later it would rise in the east. But basically, I've seen positions of the sun where it shouldn't be from that altitude.
Do you feel like when you're going west, do you have to continue to turn left in order to stay straight, or do you just go straight and that's west?
We keep going straight and that's west.
It's as if there's something else going on other than just what we even think we're evolving to understand. So what's your take on that? Is that just a mind blow?
It really is, and it's something that I've never thought about, but we do it through multiple systems in the aircraft. We have you have GPS and internal navigation systems, VOR systems, NDB systems. We have so many navigational systems, but oftentimes you'll be flying along, very oftentimes you'll be flying along, and all those will go haywire, and so then you'll just be getting coordinates from our government air traffic control on exactly how to fly, and then they basically say that they're jamming the radar, they're practicing it for war games or something like that. They always know exactly where you're at. The radar coverage in the United States is 100%, but oftentimes it seems like they don't want you to know exactly where you're at. I've been commercially flying for the last 12 years. I've worked for 3 major airlines in the United States that I'm sure everybody's heard of. I've met pilots in the military, pilots in New Zealand, and especially when you talk to pilots in New Zealand, that's where you get the most questions that they don't even have answers to, because some of your shortest routes should be over Antarctica, and they're not.